In today's Farm Report, planting season is underway, and some crop producers may be applying soil-applied herbicides as a way to help keep weeds down. Dan Martins from the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office talks about whether that type of soil herbicide will work in dry years.
Tom Peters, Extension Sugar Beet agronomist, addressed a question in an article last week. Will soil-applied herbicides work in a dry year? Recent rains have answered some of those concerns. Part of the question has to do with what happens to pre-emerged products when they lay on the surface for a while before rain takes them into the soil the way we'd like. Extension weed scientist Jeff Gonzalez says there is no photodegradation of pre-emerged herbicides, meaning that sunlight does not hurt the product. The active ingredients do not disappear by evaporation. So from that standpoint, there isn't a reason that soil-applied products cannot be applied under these drier conditions as a significant part of the weed control program. Large-seeded weeds such as giant ragweed and wild oats are around, and those using post-emerge only herbicide programs will need to target their applications early at locations where these weeds are present. It is important to get many weeds while they are small with many herbicides. Tom Peters noted that he has also seen a lot of lamb's quarter coming up in sugar beet fields. I've seen some coming up already in small grain fields while looking for alfalfa seedlings. Tom cautions that size is not a good indicator as to the age of lamb's quarter, and it tends to have a very early growth flush, and so must be controlled in a timely way. Tom also cautions that herbicides sprayed on the soil surface will move with soil particles that are moved by wind and could affect performance. This is another good reason to think about managing tillage and planting systems to minimize wind-blown soils. Tom writes that soil moisture and rainfall affect soil-applied herbicides two ways. First, rainfall moves the herbicide from the soil surface into the soil for contact with germinating weeds. Second, soil moisture contributes to herbicide absorption by weeds. We usually say a half an inch of rain will do a good job of moving soil-applied herbicides into the soil zone where many weed seeds are germinating. Under very dry conditions, it might take more than a half an inch of rain to get herbicides in the soil that allow weeds to absorb the herbicide readily. Some herbicide labels recommend that if sufficient rain doesn't arrive within 4 to 5 days or a week after application, a rotary hoe or harrow might be used to mix the herbicide into the top inch or so of soil. This also helps to take out some weeds in a white thread stage that might be on the verge of emerging past the herbicide if it's still laying on the surface. Where people planted into 3 to 4 inches of loose, dusty soil, there could be concern that rotary hoeing or dragging or harrowing would mix the herbicide too deep with the soil. Some weeds like water hemp do not emerge until mid to late May, and weeds like velvet leaf will emerge well into the summer. Some pre-emerged products will continue to benefit control of these weeds. If rain delays herbicide applications to the point that some weeds are already starting to emerge, then of course it's important to have something in the mix that has post-emerge effectiveness. All of this varies with individual products, so it's important to learn what specific labels say about these kinds of issues. I'm Dan Martins with U of M Extension, and at the end of the day we can say, thanks for the rain.
Becky Moe, Program Coordinator for the Morrison County 4-H program, would like to remind 4-H families that livestock registrations are due by this Friday, May 15th. For more information or questions, call 632-0161. Seed depth can impact how well crops come out of the ground and ultimately yield. Dan Martins with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office talks about this.
I'm Dan Martins reporting for U of M Extension in Stearns, Benton, and Morrison counties. I talked recently about some questions people have had about using pre-emerged soil-applied herbicides with dry soil conditions, acknowledging that recent rains have answered many of these concerns. Now that some good rain has settled the soil pretty well, when things dry out again, this can be a useful time to take a look at corn and soybean planting depth again. Extension corn agronomy staff prefer corn seed to settle in at 1.5 to 2 inches deep, leaning toward 1 3/4 to 2 inches is better in many situations. This is important for better root development. It can be better for preventing herbicide injury from some soil-applied herbicide products also. Sometimes if the corn is too shallow, rain can take herbicides deep enough to have too much exposure to some soil-applied herbicides. This could be more of a risk on coarse-textured soils or in soil conditions where planters don't close and firm the soil over the planter row well enough. Your own experience with planting depth over the years is certainly important to consider. Today, I'd like also to join the Stearns Soil and Water Conservation District office in encouraging women who own or manage farmland in Stearns, Wright, and surrounding counties to take note of a program called Women Caring for the Land that will be held at Cold Spring May 20, Melrose May 21, and Buffalo May 22. This is a free opportunity with the same schedule at each site. Coffee and registration will begin at 8:30 a.m., lunch will be provided, and the program will adjourn at 3 p.m. The morning part of the program starts at 9 with a discussion format on topics related to care of the land, including goals for improving air, water, and soil quality, managing erosion, conservation principles, and financial and technical assistance available to work toward these goals. The afternoon part of the program will be a bus tour of area farmland to see how principles and practices are being put to use in the area. The schedule is to return to the starting point about 2:30 to share some dessert, some wrap-up discussion, and adjourn by 3 p.m. Women who are interested in the Caring of the Land program are asked to RSVP by Monday, May 18th by calling Megan Herbst at the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District, 320-251-7800, extension 3. The date and locations again are Cold Spring, May 20th, meeting at the Frogtown Park Pavilion; Melrose, Thursday, May 21, meeting at the Melrose City Center; Buffalo, Friday, May 22nd, meeting at the Wild Marsh Golf Course. At each location, coffee and registration begin at 8:30, with the program starting at 9 a.m. and adjourning at 3 p.m. Women Caring for the Land is facilitated by the Women Food and Agriculture Network, Renewing the Countryside. The events noted here are hosted by Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District, Buffalo NRCS District, Minnesota Department of Agriculture, the Sustainable Farming Association, the USDA SARE Program, and the McKnight Foundation. I'm Dan Martins with U of M Extension, and I hope the rain gives you a chance to catch up on some things that are useful and meaningful.
The numbers are staggering for jobs in the U.S. for high-skilled agricultural professionals. There are plenty of jobs, but not enough qualified candidates to fill them. That's according to an Employment Outlook report released by USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture and Purdue University. Agriculture Deputy Secretary Krista Harden says the NIFA Purdue University report shows a tremendous demand for recent college graduates with a degree in agricultural programs.
There are nearly 60,000 skilled agricultural job openings expected annually in the United States, yet only 35,000 graduates are available to fill them. That's 61%.
And if you're wondering about the caliber of these jobs, they are well paying.
Those receiving degrees in agriculture fields can expect to have ample career opportunities.
The output is twofold. Not only will those who study agriculture be likely to get jobs that pay well upon graduation, they will also have the satisfaction of working in a field that addresses some of the world's most pressing challenges. For USDA Radio, Susan Carter, Washington, D.C.